The Democratic whip.
Mr. President, first I want to thank my colleague from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Senator Warren. That was a powerful, moving, absolutely necessary speech, and I'm glad I was here to hear you deliver it. Thank you. Mr. President, earlier this month, the nation watched in horror as social media was flooded with images and videos of a federal immigration officer shooting and killing an American citizen, Renee Good, as part of the Trump administration's military enforcement operation in Minneapolis. Now, fresh on the heels of that tragedy, another one has struck. This weekend, federal agents gunned down yet another American in Minneapolis, Alex Preddy, a 37-year-old ICU nurse at a VA hospital in Minneapolis. I'm going to show a photo of that scene, which is graphic, but I'm afraid is necessary to appreciate the horror of the moment. This photo shows the last second before the ICE agent killed Alex Preddy on the streets of Minneapolis. In his right hand is his camera, left hand holding the ground. No gun, obvious. No effort to resist, obvious. This was a moment when this man lost his life. He was characterized afterwards as an assassin, a domestic terrorist. The photo tells the story. The killing of Alex Preddy has further intensified tensions in a city already reeling from the president's aggressive campaign of terror. What was the Trump administration's immediate response when they heard of this second killing in Minneapolis? Not to bring down the temperature, but instead to rush to the American people with one message: don't believe your eyes. Don't believe what you see. It is the same playbook they used after the killing of Renee Good and with other federal immigration officers involved shootings and incidents. Following the fatal shooting of Miss Good, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, falsely claimed she had, quote, violently, willfully, and viciously ran over an ICE officer. In response to the killings of both Miss Good and Mr. Preddy, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem labeled their actions, quote, domestic terrorism. And Attorney General Pam Bondi, in a letter sent to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, effectively tried to blackmail the state, demanding that the governor of Minnesota turn over voter rolls of that state in exchange for Bondi's efforts to pull back federal immigration enforcement officers. In a court hearing earlier this week, an attorney representing the state described Bondi's request as a ransom note. Why has this president targeted this city and other democratically led cities? Trump claims he's targeting these cities because the local elected officials have released, quote, violent, criminal, illegal aliens from state custody. The claim does not hold up. Governor Walz eloquently refuted it in a recent column in the Wall Street Journal, and I ask unanimous consent to enter it into the record.
Without objection.
Governor Walz noted that in Minnesota, the state's Department of Corrections honors all federal and local detainers by notifying ICE when a person in custody is not a citizen. Governor Walz wrote, and I quote, there's not a single documented case of the department's releasing someone from state prison without offering to ensure a smooth transfer of custody. If the president wants to work together in reducing crime, count me and Governor Walz in. But these lawless immigration operations are establishing a reign of terror, first in Chicago, now in Minneapolis, St. Paul, eroding constitutionally protected civil liberties while indiscriminately rounding up people for the crime of just happening to be black or brown. Even the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal, no liberal publication, agrees. In an editorial yesterday, they noted that since October, 73% of the individuals taken into ICE custody had no criminal conviction. Only 5% had a violent criminal conviction, Do you remember the rants at all the rallies? We're talking about rapists and murderers and terrorists, the criminally insane, child predators coming into the United States, and now we're going to expel them. That was the promise, the worst of the worst, over and over again. But when you listen to the statistics that show how few of the people who've been detained or tortured were actually in that category, you realize that's not the worst of the worst. There are innocent people who are being victimized by ICE and this administration. Donald Trump is hell-bent on punishing his political opponents in the blue states of America and those that didn't vote for him in the last election. We see the cost. I've come to the floor before to share the stories of U.S. citizens who were arrested in Chicago by immigration agents during Operation Midway Blitz. Take Eliane Behana and Jax Lopez, two U.S. citizens who work for a local alderman in the city of Chicago, my friend Michael Rodriguez in the 22nd Ward. They were arrested by Border Patrol agents in Chicago and held for hours without any explanation after they exercised their constitutional rights to monitor immigration enforcement in the area. According to a recent report from the Chicago Sun-Times, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Chicago has brought 32 non-immigration criminal cases to court related to this ICE Operation Midway Blitz. Do you know how many convictions there have been in those 32 cases? None, not one. This represents precious time and resources wasted on baseless efforts by this agency to punish peaceful protesters that could and should be focused instead on keeping the streets safe, child exploitation, human trafficking, and public corruption. The time for accountability is now. I've been calling for DHS Secretary Noem to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee for almost 1 year. She couldn't find the time. She's just way too busy. Last calendar year, she didn't show up at all. Now she tells us that it's possible her schedule may loosen up and she might be able to come before the Senate Judiciary Committee in 5 weeks on March 3rd, if she happens to still be the DHS Secretary then. With all the violence and deaths surrounding DHS, the Secretary is in no hurry to account for her mismanagement of this national crisis, and she expects us in the meantime, in the days ahead, to rubber stamp her record-breaking budget. Over the weekend, I announced my opposition to DHS funding. I will not vote to fund the illegal DHS and ICE operations that terrorize the city of Chicago, Minneapolis, and so many other communities. The deaths of innocent Americans and the detaining of thousands of innocent people are a national disgrace. We need to work on a bipartisan basis to pass the 5 appropriation bills that have been sent to us by the House, and then work to rewrite the DHS bill to address well-documented abuses witnessed by the American people. Anything less than this approach is a non-starter with me. If the government shuts down yet again, it will be because congressional Republicans refuse to place guardrails on this reckless president and the ICE agency. In the meantime, I urge my colleagues, join us in that endeavor before Kristi, Noem, and her squad take another innocent life. And I ask unanimous consent that the Wall Street Journal editorial be entered into the record.
Without objection.
I yield the floor.